Did you unmute yourself?
Yeah, I unmuted.
Oh, on purpose?
I was like, I want to count it down too.
You are so funny. Well, hello. Welcome, everyone. My name is Adrian, and this is Allie. And before we go into it, just real quick in the first 30 seconds, this is a show where two ladies come together and we talk about life, GLP-1s, and we answer all your questions. So again, my name is Adrian. I have struggled with obesity my whole life, and I've done everything from being on TV, The Biggest Loser in front of millions of people, to gastric bypass, to keto, to carnivore, to low carb, to marathon running. And the only thing that seemed to put all the pieces together has been combining it with the GLP-1. Take it away, Allie. Who are you?
Okay. I don't know. I don't know who I am. I don't know why I'm here. I'm going to go.
I love it, Dory.
I'm just kidding. Hey, I'm Allie from Flip Flavor Fun, and I'm a type 2 diabetic who struggled with the disease of obesity for all of my adult life. And yeah, I just have thrown myself into GLP-1s. I'm a GLP-1 advocate now, and all of our peeps are in the comments. I love you guys. I'm remembering everybody's names. Super excited.
You
We lost
are?
Adrian. There we go.
I'm sorry.
Hey.
I go into do not disturb. Bad things happen when I get phone calls and you lose me for like long time. So I thought I would do that. That's interesting.
Listen.
You remember people, because I have met people at conferences and they'd be like a 3-day conference. And the next day it'd be like, oh, so nice to meet you. And they'd be like, we had lunch yesterday.
Well,
And
my
that
thing
is
is
part of my peptide. I need to heal the brain.
my thing is like I start recognizing people's YouTube handles, but then I don't remember their real life names. So then when they're in my support group and they're like, "Hey, Allie, I saw you live." And I'm like, "I'm so glad you were there, but I don't know who you are."
Your handle.
Unless they have the same picture or they tell me. If they tell me, then I know. Oh no, now I'm getting text messages. Okay.
Well, we like the
Okay,
Hey,
here we go.
so if anybody has questions, please put a QQQ questions. We can try to grab it because the chat is going, which is awesome. Thank you all for participating in our live. I want to tell you about something that came up this week. You know how everybody's always like, oh, you need to go to counseling when you lose weight. It's like, I've lost weight, I feel great. What the heck are you talking about? And then this week, the weirdest thing happened. I passed judgment on a friend, and I put this in my stories, so I'm sorry, Instagram people, if you saw this. And I was so worried about telling her this judgment. And I kept recording it and deleting it, recording it. And sometimes I hit submit, but I was like, no, it wasn't good enough. So then I deleted it because I didn't know how to tell her this thing that I thought other people would judge her on. And she finally called me and said, I don't agree. So it's fine. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then she explained to me like how things work in her world and how everything. And then I realized, oh, this is actually a me problem, because did you ever look in the mirror before? And it's like, I would absolutely look for the good things. Like, look at my face. This is a good color for me. Oh, that's a good cut. Today my plants fit. There's definitely positive, but in the back of my mind, I was still taking score of all the things someone might pick apart. Did you see that fat roll? Do you see my roll hanging over my pants? Do you see the how puffy, how that these pants are so tight they have a crease in across the leg? So I would always be taking score of what someone else might be judging. So now that I've lost weight, and I guess I can't say I'm fat anymore, which is a weird concept for me. Now I'm looking, I'm like, damn girl, you're hot. But then I'm looking and I'm like, are you too skinny? Are they going to start going, look at those shoulder bones? So I still have it.
Yeah.
Have you had any of that?
Yes. So, I have actually had some family members that have asked me, hey, of course they're like, you're looking so great. You've got so much energy. You're just bubbly, and we can tell that you're really feeling good. And then, they're like, yeah, so when are you going to come off of it? When are you going to stop? What is your goal weight?
Yes. What is your goal weight?
Yeah. And I actually went to a new provider this week, and I was rather surprised that they brought up being underweight and how that's going to be something that we discuss in the future. And I thought that was really interesting because at 170 pounds, a size 12, I'm not exactly a skinny mini. So I was like, this is really interesting. And I told my new provider, I was like, I really like that you're having kind of this well-rounded conversation with your patients, but you don't know me and I know a lot about GLP-1s. So we're gonna get really into it. And he was just like, okay, great. So, but yeah, but I thought that it was interesting how the conversation just sways the other way, right?
Yes, it sways the other way. And yes, those people were in my head. Well, there have been people who have said, I want to lose weight, but I don't want to look like you.
And I'm sure that made you feel great.
Yeah, because I know that I look skinny from here up, but like I still have 30% fat from here down. Like I'm telling you, people, there's some ass to grab. Sorry, are we not supposed to say that word on YouTube?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I think you can cuss
Um,
on YouTube.
and
It's
I
okay.
guess some people would say that's a good thing, but I really want to like see defined legs, not in like, oh, I saw this horrible picture on, I don't remember who somebody's Instagram today. And it was a lady bending over and her legs look like trucks. And I was like, no, not that. That's not what I would look like.
Trucks like Mack trucks, like lots of muscle or
Yeah, like crazy muscle. Like she had like these
oh,
huge
okay.
trucks and then these gigantic glutathiones. Just kidding. And then
Yeah.
a tiny waist and like she was just like ripped. Um,
Some
yeah.
people work
So
really hard, like that's their aesthetic. I've been seeing that more recently as I've been researching various peptides, but yeah, I'm always shocked when I see those people. I'm like, that is so much work. That's so much
it's hard to
work.
maintain. No, so that's not
Yeah.
me. Like obviously that woman was beautiful in her own way. And I think building muscle is addicting because it gives you like a dopamine, it gives you all the oxytocin, it gives you like the good feels when you build muscle. So I totally get that. I
Yeah.
just want to look athletic. That's all. That's it. And then I made a reel this week and it was my befores. And I noticed in all my befores, I was running a race and I was 285 pounds and I was running half marathons. Um, now I haven't run a mile in 2 years and I'm proud of it.
Woohoo!
I'll walk. I've walked 12
Sure.
miles. I will if somebody's watching the kids and the sun is shining, I will walk all day and I'll put a backpack on and some music, podcasts, a whole bunch of Coco Loco because I'm sorry, I just love these electrolytes. They're so good. Um, yeah. So living the good life. So that was a big topic that came up this week. Did anything big come up for you?
I'm drawing a blank now because you put me on the spot and I was in the middle of reading Cheryl's question.
Okay, you
Because I
want me
was
to bring that up?
yeah, let's grab it.
You go ahead.
Okay. So Cheryl was saying, I was on Ozempic for a year and now Manjaro for a year and haven't lost a single pound. Am I the only person who has had this experience? So, yeah, Cheryl, I'm going to tell you, you're not the only one. This is actually fairly common. And, um, for many people who switch from Ozempic to Manjaro or Zepbound, they often find that they don't see any results until higher doses. I'm going to assume for the sake of this conversation that you're at the highest dose. Um, but many people don't. They don't. And so that's why there is, a large number of specifically diabetics that I've researched that have gone from Ozempic to Manjaro and they're now just waiting for the next generation of GLP-1 meds to come out. Everybody's kind of looking forward to retatrutide to see,
Retta Hutide?
right, the retatrutide, to see, if that's going to be what kind of helps them in their next stages. But yeah, a lot of it depends on, what conditions you have, right, that are actively working against you, and sometimes it's what we have currently is just not enough.
Yeah, I think your receptors, you need to hit more receptors probably. I mean, I don't have a ton of experience watching other people, but I do see people move to Monjaro and then the needle starts moving. I do have one friend who is a type 2 diabetic who's been on Ozempic for a couple years, I think, and she didn't lose weight. And then she switched to Monjaro, and I don't know if it was like the added feel good or what, but for the first time, she actually tracked her food. So she wasn't tracking her food on semaglutide, and she found she was eating 2,800 calories. So she was not in a deficit ever.
Right.
And
Yeah.
but she was eating whole foods, lean meats, vegetables. She was eating the right things, but she was eating not at a deficit. So she's working on that now, which is really tough. Find that balance of I'm full, I'm satiated, I don't feel deprived, but I'm also working towards that goal. That's a tough one.
Right. Yeah, you got to make sure you're doing all the things, and whatever you're doing, Cheryl, you may want to try switching it up. I know for some people like Dave at On the Pen, he does better when he's doing more of a keto style diet, and he can, kind of move the scale with that. So you may just have to see what works for you or what works for you now, right? Until there's something else that hits the market that can help.
You just brought up a really good point. With Dave, when he was on the show with Dr. Tina Moore, he showed like, no, guys, just because I don't eat keto doesn't mean I'm not eating healthy. And he showed his ketones and the fact
Mhm.
that he was working on it and it's still just not enough.
Yeah.
And I believe that to be true. I think there's something off. Our receptors are not grabbing it, or we're resistant, or it's just there is more. There's like ones that have 5 things that are going to stimulate. And they say the 3 one actually heals you. And when you come off of it, you're actually a different metabolically person than when you came on. Some of the things that scare me about semaglutide and tirzepatide is we have better gut health, we have lower weight, our fat cells are extinguished, but are we metabolically changed? So I don't
Yeah.
know.
I
As a
think I
person
think
who
it's hard to
struggled my
say.
whole life, did it actually heal that, or am I going to need to like stay on something for a long time?
Yeah. I think for a lot of people, just based off of the research I did when I interviewed the 35 people who had come off of GLP-1s and maintained the weight loss, a lot of it really depends on the person, right? And what's going on. Somebody who maybe hasn't struggled with obesity their whole life may be in a better position to come off of a GLP-1 and then be able to maintain and have continued success with something like keto or carnivore or whole foods diet, or be able to maintain, whereas maybe somebody who's a type 2 diabetic, maybe not. It just depends. And we're all kind of on this spectrum of, how broken is my body? So
You
it's
know,
hard to
I
say.
I gotta just grab this little banner here real quick, and just say, I actually don't necessarily think it's because people ate crap their whole life. I think that it can be, how many viruses did you have? Did you have pneumonia? How many pharmaceuticals have you taken in your life? What is your home made out of? Do you have water damage in your home? Were you ever bit by a tick? Were you ever bit by a spider? I mean, there's way more to this picture of why your body might be inflamed, your receptors might be damaged, your nerves might be damaged. Way more to the story than just you ate too much pizza and drank pop. Because I personally haven't drinking a pop since I was 12. So there's way more to this story. So I just like to whip that out. And since we share the StreamYard with my Lioness ladies, I'm just going to have to go ahead and go like this. Do you know what picanha is?
Yeah. It's
A delicious meat.
is it a Brazilian cut? I want to say I saw it in the Brazilian restaurants.
Yes, I think it's like the top sirloin, which I think is like the
Okay.
back butt, but they actually leave the fat cap on.
Yeah.
And they make it nice and crispy fat cap, and then the meat doesn't have any fat in it at all, but it just has really good flavor. Anyway, us over at the
That's
Lioness
good
Lifestyle
stuff.
Live,
I haven't
that's
been to like a Fogo de Chao or a Brazilian steakhouse in forever, and that just made me think of that. That sounds so good.
you'll have to come with me and Lewis someday.
Yes.
Um, let's see here. Next question we have. Okay. How fast for either one did it take for GLP-1 to get the weight off of you? Some lose fast and some lose really, really slow. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So I am hi, my name is Adrian, and I am a dietaholic. And that's when everybody says, hi, Adrian.
Hi,
Anyway,
Adrian.
so when I came on board, I was like, I'm gonna do it hard. Like if I can't, this is like, it's always, this is the end. Every time I do something, it's like, if this doesn't work, nothing's gonna work. So I combined it with a challenge called the Maria Emmerich Challenge, the Craig Emmerich Challenge, and it's very low fat, tons of protein, and it's about 1,100 calories a day. And I did that for a month on top of walking 10 to 15,000 steps a day and lifting 3 times a day. And then I had inflammation come off. So I went, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose hair. I better slow down. So then month 2, I leaned into the suppression days and ate 1,100 calories, and I leaned back on the non, and I had 1,800 to 22, sometimes 28. So it was like leaning into the tool. And then I tried Dr. Jones's fasting thing, and I tried that 3 different times. It didn't work for me, because when I came back into eating, I couldn't break free of the brain of eating is bad for some reason. It's like a all or nothing. Eating is good, or like I feel so good not eating, and now I'm eating and I'm going to gain all my weight back, and eating is bad. It was really not healthy. So the fasting. So anyway, it's still like, I'm trying all these things. And so the first couple of months, I lost most of my weight. Then over the past 4 months, I've lost 2.5 pounds a month. Not 2.5, 2.5, 2.5. It was like up 2.5, down 3, up 1, down, but overall in the past 4 months, I've lost another 10 pounds. So 6 months, 50 pounds. Go.
Nice. So, I have been on tirzepatide for, I think I'm coming up on 14 months, and I have lost 114 pounds. Now, I will say that, most would probably classify me as someone who lost or would be a like a hyper responder as far as diabetics go, because I was pretty consistent starting out at 285 pounds. I was pretty consistent at losing 1 to 2 pounds per week, sometimes 3 if there was inflammation involved, and that was pretty consistent until I hit 200 pounds. And that's when everything really slowed down, which is 100% normal. The closer you get to like a healthier type of weight range, right, the slower the weight kind of comes off. So, yeah, but for reference, it was, I think it was like 13 months and 114 pounds. And yeah, I think that going slow, like when you're first starting out, all you care about is how do I get to where you are, right? And you're looking at your people and you're like, you're watching your YouTubers and your TikTokers and you're like, oh, they've lost 100 pounds, they've lost 50 pounds. I can't wait to get to that point. But then if you just go along for the ride, learn what you need to learn along the way, then you'll be in such a great mental headspace once you do get to that point. So I think it's normal in the beginning to focus on how long did it take you to get there. It's going to take you however long it takes you. But don't fall into the trap of comparing yourself to somebody else, because people in the diabetic support groups, they hate me. They hate me. They're like, oh, you're that girl that lost 100 pounds, right? Because many of them struggle to even lose 1 pound in a month. So don't get too caught up in a comparison.
I've heard people say too, like they'd said to me, oh, well, that's not sustainable. So why would you do that? Well, it did slay the pounds off. And because I refeeded and I didn't stay there for month upon month upon month upon month, I
Mhm.
pulled back knowing this is going to kill my metabolism.
Right.
This is not a good idea to do long term. It was okay. And what was crazy was that my body continued to lose weight on this medication. even though I had lost so much. And then I can eat. Like I
Yeah.
lost, sometimes when you do those things that are unsustainable, now you can't eat. But I think because month 2 I switched it up to leaning into the days and then leaning back. Leaning
Mhm.
in, leaning, so I don't think my body felt deprived. But I
Right.
do want to say something, and this kind of brings up one of the topics we were talking about before we hit go, which was I wonder how many me's there are where someone kind of disappears for 3 months. And then they come out of the closet like, hey, everybody, I'm skinny now. And I'm
Right.
just like, what? What happened? And then they just think that it happened overnight when in fact, in that 3 months, which 3 months is nothing, I had lost a lot of my weight before I started this. Um, in that 3 months, I had ups and downs. I called my best friend crying, saying, see, this doesn't work for me either. And you guys weren't there for that. But what this brings up, though, is the shame. The reason that I didn't tell anybody was because I was afraid my community, that where I've made a ton of friends, that they would see me as a failure. They would discredit everything I was doing. It would ruin my YouTube channel. It would ruin everything. And and so what I'm seeing in my group, because I attract people like me, is kind of the same thing coming in. People just kind of feeling defeated, feeling unsure, don't want anybody to know we're doing this. I know people who in my community will not touch it just because of the stigma, and that is what makes me so sad. And I hope that it gets better. I think it's getting better, but but what's great is a few weeks in, maybe even a few days in, they go, "Oh, this isn't that big of a deal." Like, what was I so worried about? It's not that big of a deal. And I'm not struggling as bad. I still have to do the things, but wow, and then the light goes off and the shame is gone and it's so exciting. Yeah. Have you seen any of that or not really? Because when you have diabetes, sorry, the baby just fell. When you have
Oh,
diabetes, like you need something to help alleviate that condition, or you're going to get very, very sick, go blind, lose toes.
right.
Worse.
Right. Yeah. So I think that being a diabetic in a lot of the social settings, it kind of gives you a pass, right? Because people like to use it as a stick to beat everybody else up with. It's like, oh, you're taking meds from diabetics. No, you're not. No, you're not.
Mhm.
Just stop it. Just stop it. So I think that the more we have the conversations and the more those conversations go viral and these communities get bigger and we come together not as separate groups doing different diets or separate groups doing different meds or separate groups with, trying to control their A1C and trying to lose weight. When we bring everybody together, that's when we have the most powerful voice and we can say, hey, you guys, you're thinking that this is, something terrible, horrible, no good, very bad thing, and it's really not. Just like you said, it's not a big deal. I touched on this week at on the pen on my Reddit recap. There was a lifelong athlete who was under the impression that people are overweight because they're lazy, they're uneducated, right? And they don't know any better. Nobody ever taught them. And then this lifelong athlete who had always been thin their entire life got a metabolic disorder that caused them to have insomnia. And they gained 63 pounds in 2 months. And all of a sudden, they were put into all of our shoes. And they had a very real life experience of what it's like to be on the other side of it. And
Mhm.
their doctor put them on a GLP-1 and they lost the weight, and they had of course made this Reddit post explaining that it was, this mass apology because they were wrong. Everything they thought, everything the media had told them about GLP-1s was wrong, and
Mhm.
they didn't understand until it was them.
I was wrong. last week, this week, I had to go delete Jillian Michaels saying all those people are going to gain their weight back, and I posted it because she talked about receptor burnout, which is a concern for me, but we're going to just have to work through it. We're just going to have
Right.
to throw all the tools we can at that idea. I also take thyroid medicine, and I also take bioidentical hormones, which can have the exact same problem. So this isn't like the only medication that you could potentially need to either increase or you may need to come off. And I think it depends on the person, because my husband stayed on the same dose like this whole time, and he still thinks it's amazing. And so we're all very different on that one. You also posted a viral reel of them saying, "Do you think people should take Ozempic?" And the lady was like, "No." And she said, "Why not?" I said, "Maybe they should try a diet."
Diet and exercise. Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
you see the second one though?
No, there was a second one?
Yeah, the lady explained. She said, I was skinny my whole life, and then something happened. She gained all her weight back, and then I got to understand." And she explains it to the lady and says, what's happening is that they wake up and all day long it tells them to eat food, and it's actually a really hard way to live. So the lady does
Interesting.
explain it to the skinny girl who just
Good.
doesn't get it.
Good. I wish I had seen that. I'll have to look that up
Go
tonight
look on my
because
Instagram or my Facebook, because I kind of put the two together.
okay.
And I made captions, and I said, the lady's like, "No, why don't you try a diet?" And I said, "Old carnivore community."
That's
And
hilarious.
then the lady explains it, and I wrote a caption, "This is me explaining how we have hormone signaling issues." And then there's an after where and then she goes, "Do you think that they should do it?" And the lady's like, "No, I think if you need it and it helps you get healthier, then yeah, you should have it." And she
Yeah,
goes, "Do you think it's cheating?" And she goes, "No." And it said new carnivores
I
in my dream
love
world.
that.
So
I
go check
love
that out.
that. I loved that, that whole interaction in that recording. I knew the moment I saw it, I was gonna have to make a video about it because I was like, "This is gold," because the one girl is just laughing so uncomfortably, and her friend is really making just highlighting how bad she looks in that moment. It was yeah, it was rough, and I loved it.
It was rough. And the other lady, she even had like a sweet look to her. The lady was like, "No, I think if it's for
Yeah,
health reasons, they probably need it." And like she just
yeah.
looked like you could see like you could see her heart through the screen.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
But the other lady was like, "I just don't get it." Now, I've totally been there where you look at someone and you're like, "I just can't even relate to that." And
Right.
and so sometimes you just and then you have your preconception. So that must be why the lady was okay with it being posted and making a viral humiliation of her.
Right, because she thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Because there's that disconnect, right? But I think in situations like that, I think I may have said this in my video. I think I said it in one of the follow-ups that, um, people who do that, who laugh the loudest at the most inappropriate moment, they are often used to everyone just laughing with them. And so they miss the social cue of this is not a laughing moment. And I think that's kind of what happened to her, just my opinion, but I think that's what happened to her. I think that, as somebody who didn't understand, who's been thin their whole life, she thinks she's going along with the masses, right? And she's like, "Ha ha, diet and exercise," right? And then her friend's like, yeah, actually, if it helps you, go for it." And then it was kind of like oh, right?
Have
So,
you ever had that moment where you started laughing when you really shouldn't and then you
oh,
can't stop? Okay, I lost a friend over this because I got to school and they said Porter punched a kid in the face. And it was so inappropriate to like start laughing because it wasn't funny at all. I was mortified and I wanted to go, kid. But for some
yeah.
reason, the laughing started. And then the minute it started, I was like, "Please stop, please stop." And it just kept coming out. And the mom saw, and I
Oh,
didn't even know what kid he punched. And she won't talk to me this day. I'm like, "But it was a bad laugh. I didn't mean it." It's not funny. It's not funny. And then one time I dyed my best friend's hair and it came all orange.
Oh,
And that's the time when you shouldn't laugh. And it just, like
well,
tears,
yeah.
laughing of tears. So I kind of felt she was a little bit of like, it came out her mouth what she actually felt. And then she realized that was probably not the right thing to say, is how I felt
Right. Yeah,
with her. But I don't know.
I agree.
Okay. So we got lots and lots of good comments.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. You want to read this one?
Yes. Lady Alex in the house. Woo woo. Okay. My NP will order 3 months worth of compound semaglutide at the highest dose so I can have it enough to last for as long as possible. That's awesome. April 22nd is the last day the pharmacy can compound it.
I know I started this.
Okay.
Here's some food for thought for the audience. I was just talking to a provider that if you have one of the providers who can access some of the other stuff like cagrilintide and retatrutide, because there are some providers who can supply that, like the provider we work with, not Mochi, but like the hormone and health provider that my
Mhm.
group works with, she can access those things. If you can get those and continue to have those, that could continue to spread out your semaglutide and your tirzepatide as we ride this wave. So I just wanted to put that thought in someone's mind that if this comes to a close and you have your supply, that potentially you could find one of the providers. You can contact me. I'd be happy to share my lady. She's phenomenal. And you can take tiny doses of that other stuff to try to take less of yours and try to stretch it out further. That's why I wanted to bring that up. It's just I don't know if anybody else is thinking of like, what are we gonna do?
Yeah. Well, I think that a lot of people are, kind of telehealth hopping right now. So, especially because of some of the delays with Mochi, many people are hopping from one to the next to the next to the next so that they can kind of build up that supply. And, I think it's a good idea because I don't know that things are going to get better with insurance coverage. I was reading a statistic before we started this live that just from the beginning of last year, so just for like one full calendar year, insurance coverage of Ozempic specifically is down 22%.
Just when we need it. Here's the
Right.
thing though, but well, people like me aren't going to get coverage to begin with. They're going
Right.
to say, oh, you're not a BMI of 25 anymore.
Or 40, which is what many of the
Well,
insurance companies have
I
gone
was
up
a
to.
30, yeah, 33 for a while, for when I started this, I think. But
Right.
yeah, exactly. They're going to go, well, look at you now. You don't qualify. However, because of my surgery, I honestly need this medicine. I've also struggled my whole life. I don't think I'm cured. You'll take me, I'll get off of it and I will just blow back up. Not because of lack of effort, not because of lack of fasting or cutting carbohydrates or exercising, but because my body just doesn't metabolize food. The signaling is very, very poor
Right.
without this.
I think
Um,
I would be the same way. There's a really good one from Marilyn here. I'm on Zepbound 2.5 and
oh,
stayed the same weight. What should I do? So, Marilyn, you got to give us some more info. I mean, you're on 2.5. Have you been on it for 4 weeks? Are you doing all the things? Prioritizing protein, getting in movement, tracking your calories, making sure that you're in a calorie deficit, right? You can use the tdeecalculator.net. It's a really great resource to try to figure out your calorie deficit. So let us know if you're doing all the things. I personally recommend that people stay at a dose as long as it's working for you. So sometimes that means there will be some weeks that you don't lose weight, and that's okay. It may come around the next week. The other thing I want to mention is if you are weighing yourself the same time, the same day, every week, just going to throw this out there. Your body does not function on a schedule. I noticed that for my weight loss, that for the majority of my journey, I did not lose weight in 7 days. I lost weight in 8 days, 10 days. So it's not like if you're weighing in every shot day, you may not see the weight come off, right? And so it kind of looks like this. But if you're just tracking the numbers, then you have more of this kind of downward slope. So, Marilyn, give us some more info.
And I love Happy Scale.
What's a
So
happy scale?
you don't know about Happy Scale?
No.
What? Oh, it's this beautiful app. You should totally download. Do you have an Android or an Apple?
Apple.
Okay, great. So what scale do you have at
I
home?
have the Renfo.
Okay, so you allow Renfo to stream to Apple Health. Okay, Apple Health will stream to Happy Scale, which is an app that's free. And so you don't have to transfer Renfo to Happy Scale. They don't go directly, but
Okay.
Apple will do it. Okay. And it will give you trends. And so even like
Nice.
there was like a month or 2 or 6 weeks where I was honestly like up, but it was like, it's okay. You're still 25% on the way to the goal. This is your trend. This is your blah, blah, blah. And it just makes you happy.
Nice.
Like
Okay.
it breaks down statistics in a way that's much more much more broad as towards your goal versus today you gained 5 pounds because you ate some bread yesterday.
Okay. I like that. All right, I'm gonna have to download that one. Happy
I
scale.
can't believe you don't know about Happy Scale.
I
This is
am
I
like
learned this from the GLP-1 people. I didn't learn this from my carnivore people.
I am one of those people, like, I have my set apps that I use, that I know how to use, that I'm comfortable with, and I'm like, My Fitness Pal, and so,
Oh, I
yeah,
totally
but
think you should do it.
yeah,
Okay. And then you should show it to your audience because it'll help their relationship with the scale.
absolutely. Well, I love that it's positive geared. That's right up my alley, but I'm ching.
Speaking of, if anybody is kind of struggling with your relationship with food, you're still finding yourself with unhealthy eating at time. Like one thing that I was struggling with still was eating before bed. I got the lady for you. You just let me know. I'll send you her information. And she is so great at working through why am I doing this? Because even though we have a tool to help us with it, we're still human beings. It's
Mhm.
still a comfortable thing. We still have those foods we can go to. We still have to work on all that stuff, I think. Especially, what happens, what did they say? Is it 2 years out when some of the appetite suppression doesn't seem as strong? And some
Right.
people say that it's actually not the peptide, maybe it's us. Some people say maybe it's us going back into how we feel, but I think it's the peptide, but what do you think about that?
Yeah. So I think that for the most part, humans are highly adaptive. And I think that there's a reason why we have to go up in dose. I don't know if scientifically it's that the receptors become desensitized, right? There is, theories about that. And then there's also just the theory of your body just adapts and says, "Hey, what's going on? We were really enjoying having all this extra storage and we felt really good about life." Right?
Mhm.
So, my relationship
There's
with
a
food is
lot
it's
there.
complicated.
So if you find yourself and you're like, I just feel a little stuck. So what I do is I talk to this person before I go up in dose to make sure, am I doing all the things? Is this food noise like literally in my head or is it real?
Yeah,
And so I got a great person for people to work with. I just thought this was funny. My relationship with food it's complicated.
I love that.
Um, there is
We got a
I
good one from Janet here. "I need to come off Ozempic. It's not working. It only goes up to 2 milligrams. Any ideas on what to switch to?"
set bound Monjaro.
Right.
And my friend
Pretty
did
much the
when
only option.
she my friend that was not losing weight on Ozempic, her insurance didn't cover Zepbound, but because she had gone through Ozempic and she was stuck, it somehow gave her the approval to move to Zepbound since the approved medication wasn't enough. Like I think even her A1C, and she was very low carb, was still pre-diabetic, even a year or two into the medication. And so she was approved to move.
Yeah. The thing is, unless you're having severe side effects, which I know is a challenge of semaglutide, Ozempic, Wegovy. Um, Unless you're having severe side effects, I would encourage everyone to not say that it's not working for you until you go ahead and get to that highest dose and find that it actually doesn't work for you. Um, I know there are a lot of people that kind of get halfway through semaglutide because of the side effects and then they want to switch, and that's perfectly fine. And you should definitely talk to your doctor about that. But as far as if if you are tolerating it well, but you're just not getting results, you may need to just go up in dose. So I see people that are bailing on Ozempic to go to Manjaro, and then they're like, oh no, this is not working. Then they go back and I'm finding just through anecdotal research that they're not having as much success flippy flopping back and forth. So yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So Lady Alex says, I'm losing my hair no matter what I do. Did we talk about iron? Because, and I think we did last time, I lost my hair and lost my hair and lost my hair for 3 months. My ferritin wasn't that bad. It was like a 40, which I don't think is terrible, but I started getting infusions and my hair stopped falling out. And I know that it could be a whole bunch of things. It can be inflammation, it could be thyroid, it could be hormones, it could be, but I just wanted to share that experience in case that could be in case you're even slightly anemic, even slightly. And I think 40 is within range,
Right.
but I was having other symptoms of anemia as well. And so I got a doctor. I had to like beg them to get me the infusions and my hair stopped falling out.
Yeah.
Oh, and last time I talked about how I had bought the hair stuff. What's that
Yeah,
called?
minoxidil. Yeah.
Is that the foam you put in your hair?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, like Rogaine.
Yeah, Rogaine. I was told after not to use it and to take something else instead. Becky, if you're here, could you comment what that was again? Becky said to do something else. And she had a
Yeah.
really bad experience. She said hair may have grown, but then once they stopped the midoxidil, it fell back out. Is there an oral
Right.
midoxidil?
Yes, there is.
Okay,
So
so
there's
Ryder was telling me to take the oral one.
Yeah, there's a couple of different options for hair loss. I go over all of the options in one of my videos. So just do a search on my channel for hair loss. And I think I have two videos, one where I talked about my hair loss and the other talking about all the different medications that are currently available on the market so that people can talk to their doctor about it. Specifically, what worked for me was upping my calories, upping my protein, and doubling up on my vitamins. Even though I had blood work and it didn't show that anything was low, I just said, forget it. I'm just going to do all the things.
Copper.
And I found that the hair loss stopped.
You just reminded me too when you said, okay, you know how they have that saying that when you get closer to your goal, your weight loss slows.
Mhm.
I think it's actually a metabolism thing because before I went on this, I had gained 20 or 30 pounds. And so that would be like kind of telling your body, hey, there's plenty of food. And,
Right.
I started out at 184, which is technically not, which was like a 32 or 33 BMI. And the weight still just whooshed. And you see some people who will start at 150 and they'll be at 120 in like 2 months. So I
Mhm.
think so I don't want you to do the Candace method and like eat tons of food, but in some ways I think that it might work eventually if you can mentally gain 30 pounds and be okay with it. I can't.
Right.
Then I think the metabolism kicks back up potentially, but it's a really scary thing to play with. So I don't know if I would do it personally, but okay.
Yeah.
So Becky says copper and zinc
Okay.
for hair. Okay.
That makes sense. I was doing both of those. So that makes sense. Neo
Awesome.
Queen in the house.
Allie, I've watched you since the beginning. How have you each kept from falling into self-sabotage?
Ooh. Go ahead, Adrian.
I've totally self-sabotaged. 100%. I totally, 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 totally have done that. And what I did was keep going. And then another thing that's always been huge for me, and I honestly didn't even have the app TikTok until I started Ozempic, or well, I didn't start Ozempic. I'm on tirzepatide. I thought that, China would spy on me and get my DNA. I don't know. I didn't. Tinfoil hat. Um, so I didn't have TikTok, but I couldn't find any inspiration. You try to search YouTube and they suppress like all GLP-1 content creators. It took me months to find you and Dave. It took forever to find people. And thank God there was this one lady. I don't think she posts anymore, but she posted everybody. Like she had somehow broke the code and posted everyone. That's how I found everyone. Because one lady, I should do that so that people can find people. But anyway, so I downloaded TikTok and I searched GLP-1 inspiration, GLP-1 transformation. And I went on those bad days. I went and looked at transformations, and just got motivated that this really can work. Because self-sabotage for me was like, nothing ever works for me, and this isn't going to either. So why even try? It was like my brain. So I just kept plugging into people who are successful and keep going and just don't give up and just keep going. Because there were times when I wasn't doing the right things and my body still was acting better. Like I would do something and I would only gain 2 pounds. And then when I stopped doing it, it would just go back. Where before, if I did that, it would just turn into 15 pounds.
Right.
So something was different. I kept going. How about you?
I think that continuing to move forward and looking forward is important. One of the things that I said to myself on a regular basis, because I struggled with binge eating and, a lot of compulsory emotional eating aspects to this journey. And one of the things that I used to say to myself, and I would literally say it out loud to myself, I'm sure the dogs probably thought I was crazy, but I would say, every meal is an opportunity.
Mm, same.
So, you know how, like, all of our lives, we've been on this roller coaster of diet after exercise plan, after diet, after exercise plan, after over the counter medication that didn't do anything, hydroxycut, right? Like all the things. So,
Ally.
yes. Oh my gosh, don't even get me started.
Pooping
My
out
dad and I
fat.
did that one together. That was a family affair. So, we've been kind of on this emotional roller coaster and we're used to failing and then all of the emotions that come with that. And then we say to ourselves, okay, well, I'm just going to have fun this weekend so that I can feel better. I'm going to go out, I'm going to drink, I'm going to eat the nachos, I'm going to do the things, I'm going to order the McDonald's, I'm going to, right? And then I'll start again on Monday. Like, just go ahead and like this live if you have ever said that to yourself. I'll start again tomorrow.
And then I'll start again Monday. And then I'll start again April 1st.
That's right.
There's a whole cycle.
And what I did was I stopped saying that to myself. So if I ate the McDonald's, I first of all would track the calories, look at my calories overall for the day and then overall for the week. And then I would say to myself, okay, I had a very calorie dense lunch. I did it because I was stressed out. It probably wasn't the best choice. What can I do for this next meal? Because this next meal is an opportunity. What can I do to really pack in the nutrition? Because I went kind of calorie dense this way. Let's bring it back this way. And so I would have the grilled chicken and the steamed vegetables and then I would feel better. Not because I ate something healthier, but because I turned it around. And so even if I blew out the calories for the day, normally I would be the first to put myself down. There is nobody that comes down harder on me than me. But by doing this and making this one change, don't put it off until tomorrow. if you self-sabotage, it's okay. We're not beating ourselves up anymore. The very next meal is your next opportunity. And then all you have to do is figure out what you're going to do with it. And sometimes it was really overwhelming. And for me, that meant, okay, I'm just going to have a protein shake. Just forget it. My calories are jacked for the day. I'm just having a protein shake. But I still made a better choice. I didn't compound the issue that I had earlier in the day. I changed the narrative. Instead of giving in to that guilt and the shame and the self-deprecation, I said, no, I'm not doing it. And if you continue to do that over time, you will find that you have a totally new relationship with food. And so now when I have the McDonald's, I'm like, hey, woo, look at this $5 meal. I'm so excited. I feel like we in the 90s again. All right, $5 McDonald's, right? Because it doesn't have the same weight. It doesn't carry the same shame and guilt and obsession. It doesn't carry any of that. There's no emotional attachment to it. And so I can just put it in its place instead of it controlling me. And I got off on a tangent there, and I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm
No,
gonna
I
reel it
love
back
it. You
in.
said two really good things. So one, when I was so part of the reason people love carnivore is because it's so satiating that it is kind of a really good way to control binge eating. It's not perfect. It's absolutely not perfect, but it's really helpful when you eat heavy meat that makes you full. So right now, if I eat something, let's say a cinnamon bun with no frosting, and that's 100% carbohydrates and it's made out of flour. That's not going to fill me. It's going to make me have more cravings. I'll chase it with some meat to try to stop that craving. Another thing you said that was brilliant was you track it. So one day I ate 3 of those and I was like, oh my gosh, I've thrown my whole life away in one meal.
In one
And
meal.
so I tracked how much is that? And it really wasn't that bad. Like on my worst day on a cruise ship, I think I ate 3,500 calories, which probably sounds like a lot, but that's really not that bad. Like that's it's
I used to
really
do that
not
all the
that
time.
horrible. And so when you
Right.
put down that part where you're like, why did I do that? And you look at it, it's way worse in your head than it is in real life. So it's nice to put it on paper, I think. In
Yes.
coaching, there's this one coach that will say, if you could just, because a lot of people who are carnivore, they've kicked sugar because they can't, the food noise is so loud. The signaling is so poor with carbohydrates that if you eat them, the signaling just doesn't work without some assistance. So they'll say if you could just go 3 days of stop eating things that don't trigger you for 3 days. So you just know I gotta gruel through these 3 days, and then you're a new person. Even though you've gained 15 pounds, you've been off track for 3 months. If you could give it 3 days, you will feel better. But what's cool with GLP-1 is it takes one meal. Like you don't have to have those cravings for days. You can have one meal that doesn't trigger those things for you and you can be back. So I've done the same thing where I might be stuck for 3 days. And then I'm like, okay, it just takes one meal. Just make some eggs,
Mhm.
throw some cheese on it, make it kind of fatty, and you're good. And yeah, so I love so many things that you just said. I thought they were great. Okay. Is there any danger with your blood sugar going low and carnivore and GLP-1? Oh, this was a big topic this week. I bet you don't know the answer. Do you know the answer?
Um, well, I'm gonna let you take it because it's a carnivore question. But I do have some thoughts about low blood sugar and GLP-1s. So, but you go first because it's a carnivore question.
So I'm a person who struggles with chronic hypoglycemia. So I did intense research prior to going on GLP-1 because some people have this idea that GLP-1 causes you to create insulin. But what it does is it slows things down a little so you can have appropriate hormone signaling. So when people are carnivore, we're not giving our body like anything that spikes your blood sugar, like nothing. And So when you first go carnivore, you can have low blood sugar because you're still kicking out glucose stores from the carbohydrates you ate prior to going carnivore.
Right.
Once you've gotten through those, so it could be a brutal period depending on how many carbohydrates you eat. So it's much better for you to slowly take the carbohydrates if you want to go down, 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 versus just ripping them away. Because
Interesting.
you could have low blood sugar as you're depleting those glycogen stores that you had from the carbohydrates you ate. Once those are gone, the insulin that reacts to meat and to fat is super low and super slow. And then you add a GLP-1 that's making your signaling even better. And so in my experience, no. And I have a group of like 500 people who are eating mostly keto and carnivore. And there was only one person who had low blood sugar. And it turned out that their continuous glucose monitor needed to be recalibrated. And they were like, it's so weird. I don't have any symptoms, but it keeps saying I'm like a 40. And she recalibrated and it was better. So that's my spiel on that. What's your thought?
Yeah. So I can't speak to the carnivore part because you're the carnivore expert, not me. But I will say that I'm currently researching kind of this mentality that we're seeing in doctors and providers in general, where they're concerned about higher doses of GLP-1 and low blood sugar episodes. So it is something that interests me, and it's something that I'm looking into because for anybody who may be new to me specifically, I had a provider that didn't want to prescribe more than 10 milligrams of Manjaro because they thought I was going to have a low blood sugar episode. And it really got my mind going. And I'm like,
Do you
this
take
is
insulin or metformin?
no.
Because they say berberine, insulin, metformin, those you have to be careful because you're messing with your glucose. So
Yes.
you got to be
Correct.
careful when you combine those two.
Yeah, absolutely. No, none of those
But
things.
insulin has to have something to react to. So if you're not eating carbohydrates, can I go grab something really quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I'm going to bring up the
Cool.
next one and then I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. Knowing that the BMI weight chart is not very accurate. Oh my God, I hate BMI. How do we know what weight loss goal we strive for? This is a great question. It's also the reason why I don't have a set goal weight. I think that it's really easy to get hyper fixated on the end goal. And for me, that's how I started my GLP-1 journey. I was all about like, okay, I want to be like a size 4. I want to do the things. I want to be super skinny and super fit and all that, right? All of these things that we think, and I think it's perfectly natural to think them because we've never had something where we can have success in our weight loss and health journey. So now that we're in a position where, holy cow, this is working, it's completely natural to be like, I need to have a goal weight. I've got to hit this goal weight. It's got to be this exact number, 1.11.1, right? And there are some people that get really, really hyperfixated on that. I know what a healthy BMI range is for my age and my height, but I really base things off of how I feel, which has helped me to accept kind of what I'm doing now, which is, eating more calories because I'm trying to build muscle and, not so much focusing on these, huge weight loss numbers, right? My focus has kind of changed. So, and I will say that they're talking about changing from a BMI weight chart, thank God, to oh no, I'm gonna draw a
I wish
blank.
they would go with a fat percentage because you could weigh 140 pounds and be 45% fat.
Right.
You totally could be.
Yeah. Somebody put it in the comments for me. It's like the stomach circumference
To the is it
system.
the waist to height
Yeah.
ratio?
Yes. Yeah, but it's not based off of like BMI, right? Which is all skewed and doesn't help you, especially if you're a short person, um, or an extremely tall person. So yeah, so it's they're looking at changing the model, and I'm drawing a blank on what it's called. I'm so sorry. So
Okay, I found what I was looking for, and I'm hoping I can show the camera. Have
okay.
you all seen this before?
Oh.
So the red is insulin spike from carbohydrates. See how fast and
Yeah,
high it is?
I see
And
it.
the green is meat, and the orange is fat. So people who have reactive hypoglycemia like me, when I only eat meat and fat, I no longer have hypoglycemia because I no longer ever have this spike where my body's producing too much insulin and shooting it. And then for some reason, the glucagon isn't kicking in naturally. I have the gastric bypass. Glucagon's not coming to save the day. So my blood sugar's just, I mean, when I was on the cruise, it got down to 36. I mean, I was seconds away from having a seizure right there. And thank God. Okay, I swear I didn't do this on purpose. This is what I carry with me at all times. It is called the carnivore bar, and it has honey, beef fat, and dehydrated beef in it, which I know Lady Alex is probably just like, oh my gosh, that's so disgusting. It's so good. It's really good. But it brings you up with the honey. Just bring if you're a diabetic or if you're somebody who has reactive hypoglycemia, this is perfect because it brings you up. Unlike candy, candy will bring you up and spike you back down because you'll shoot more insulin inappropriately. Candy will bring you back. Oh, unless you're not a reactive hypoglycemia, it might just bring you up and maybe you have a good response. But for people like me, then you have another crash. And now
Right.
you're on this roller coaster. So the fat slows it down. The fat
Helps
slows it
to
down.
stabilize.
And
Okay.
the honey just brings you up a touch. So anyway, I'm a hypoglycemia expert because it's nearly killed me. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, better topic now.
Okay.
Praise the Lord, eating meat. So when you hear people like one thing that was really sad this week was a friend of mine messaging me and saying, why can't I just be so on it like you are? And I'm like, well, I have to be on it or else I'm going to be sick. So,
Right.
so I wouldn't compare because if I didn't have the surgery, I would not be so strict about my meat.
Right.
I would have more room for something else, but I honestly don't want to have a seizure in front of my family or by myself. Okay, let's see here. I just started my journey on 310. How long do y'all stay on 2.5 before moving to 5? I only stayed for 6 weeks.
13 weeks.
Yeah, you're a way better responder than I am. I honestly, like the first week, I looked at meat and I was like, I don't know if I like meat anymore. But
Yeah.
that was like the only thing I had. I could still totally eat. I did snack less, and I was like, praise the Lord, I'm not snacking. But I could still just eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. I'm not a hyper responder. But then again, I was doing lifting that can increase your appetite. So we got to look
Yes.
at those things. I was walking. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's different for every person. My husband stayed on it 1 week. He thought he was going to die. So then he went down to zero point 0.8.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever the dose is, I tell people stay on it as long as it's working for you, as long as you possibly can.
Okay, go ahead. Do you
Okay.
know what WLS is?
Weight loss surgery?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Lost 200 pounds with weight loss surgery, another 100 on Zep. Nice. Holy cow. I'm 20 pounds from goal weight. Nice. Skin surgeries. I'm worried insurance stopping Zep when I've reached a healthy BMI. Yeah. Why aren't there guidelines for maintenance? You want me to take this one?
Yeah, because I don't know the answer.
So I think that eventually there will be. Especially because Eli Lilly specifically did the study that shows, right, that if you have a metabolic disorder like obesity and you come off the meds, that you are more likely to gain the weight back. And I think that was kind of their foundational point to then set up for maintenance. But I think that they're in such a struggle right now to even get insurance companies to cover it. right? They've kind of put it on the back burner, like, oh, okay, this isn't going well. We'll deal with that later. So I think eventually there'll be a protocol for maintenance. There'll be guidelines. There'll be guidelines for insurance companies, right? Just like they started out with guidelines about who should take the med. I think we'll get there. As far as insurance pulling it once you reach a healthy BMI, I would encourage you to make sure that your doctor or your provider is somebody who's experienced with prior authorizations and that they understand the importance of listing out all of the conditions and the correct codes for where you started, where you are now, right? When you're at goal weight, and it's a continuation of care. And they have to be able to explain, it is vital that they be able to explain that this medication is needed and the patient needs to stay on it. And you may find that you have to fight with your insurance company. The other thing that I want to mention is that there are alternatives to just duking it out over PAs over and over and over and over and over again, because that will frustrate your medical provider. You can opt to have your state insurance board review the claim, and that is usually enough to send your insurance company into a tailspin because they get in trouble for that. The decisions are usually rendered in, I want to say it's like 10 business days. So it's not a super fast turnaround. But again, your doctor, your medical provider has to be on board because they have to be able to provide the documentation and say, hey, I'm the doctor. My patient needs this. Stop screwing around with their insurance coverage, right? And then the state will come in and go, hey, insurance company, knock it off. And they'll make them do it. It's a whole process, and they don't make it easy for you to figure out how to do it each state. So definitely something to Google, definitely something to kind of, keep in your back pocket in case it becomes challenging for you.
I'm just gonna go like that and just say that the system is so broken. There's no incentive for insurance companies to actually heal people. I'm taking this for chronic inflammation, something I've been struggling with. That's my autoimmune conditions for 20 years. And they've just sent me in circles to 20 different specialists, and they make money every time I go to a different specialist when I just needed something to help reduce my inflammation, you know?
Yeah.
And then, if we're all losing weight too, and we're not carrying that around on our bodies and our blood vessels and our cells and our nervous system, now we don't have all kinds of disease, and there's just no incentive. There's just, truly, how they're like, oh, the cost. The cost would be saving so much. How much does it cost to send me to 12 different specialists like you're trying to do? But anyway, sorry, I just had to throw that little tinfoil hat in there.
Yeah, no,
Um,
absolutely.
let's see here. There was a great one. I'm just going to skip to this one really quick and just tell you, I'm sorry, Shelly. No, I Googled it. Google said no.
Oh.
Dang it. Android's pretty cool too. I used to have one.
GLP-1 Journey in Review said, I've noticed people treat me differently since I dropped my weight. They're more polite. That is saying something since I live in Florida. First of all, love Florida. Big bugs there. But the water's not safe, okay? There's alligators. But yeah, I would say that I have definitely experienced this as well, that people treat me differently since I've lost 114 pounds. And I live in the South where everybody's real sweet and they'll talk to you and ask you questions in the grocery store. I find that they make a lot more eye contact with me now, which is something that I've had to adjust to. You don't realize how much you've been ignored until you're no longer being ignored. And then it's very jarring. And you're like, are you holding the door for me? Oh, okay. Thank you. Right. Like, and then it happens over and over and over and over and over again. So, yeah, I've definitely experienced that.
I don't think I have, but I also am so busy with little kids that nobody approaches me anyway because I'm gonna lose my freaking mind. They're like
Hey,
raccoons and they just go at it all the time in public, in the house, in the car. So exhausting. Yeah. Okay. Okay, this is a good one. On the TDEE, I need to eat 2260 a day. I'm 280 and 5'2". Is that right? Um,
I can plug it in. Take a look.
oh, perfect. Good one.
I'm gonna plug it in for you, Angel, because I love you. Okay.
Um, with all TDEs, it's just a place to start and you got to see how your body does.
Okay, female. Okay. Oh, she didn't tell me how old she is. Okay.
I can tell she's 25. Oh,
She
I
looks
supposed to,
25 in the picture.
I know, but she might be 35.
80.
How old are you, Angel?
5'2", so she's a
Oh, she's
shorty.
42.
Hey, I put you down at 40 because that's me.
That's
Okay,
that is
42.
the crowd we attract. Actually, I think most of my crowd is 60.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So 2260. Yes, that's accurate. So if we go down, you guys can't see what I'm doing. Come over here and look over my shoulder.
You got some
Okay.
secret stuff on there? Don't show us any pictures now.
Oh no, no. Naked pictures comes later in the show. Okay, so if we go so I put you as sedentary, right? Because that's why I recommend everybody should start out if you're using the TDE calculator, because if you start putting in a bunch of exercise, it can really skew the numbers and mess you up. So if we come down and we go to cutting, okay, the tabs down here. Oh, it's so bright. You can't really see. So there's 3 tabs. I have a video that shows you how to do this, Angel. So don't worry if you can't see what I'm doing. I'm trying real hard for you. So if you go down to micronutrients and then there's 3 tabs, maintenance, cutting, bulking. We're going to go to cutting. And then it tells you that 1760 calories per day would put you in a 500 calorie deficit, right? So you would lose what, 1 pound a week? And then it gives you
Okay.
some options for moderate carb, low carb, higher carb. So you can take a look at those, but you got to scroll down to find it.
Okay, so her 22 was to maintain.
Correct. That's
That makes
maintenance
sense to me.
calories.
That makes sense. It is to maintain, but to lose, you
Yes.
would want to go down. Now, I know an expert. Her name is Kelly Hogan, and she works with a ton of people in weight loss. And she said the sweet spot is to stay within 20% up or down. If you go too far outside of 20% downwards, you are likely, if you stay there all the time, you're going to
Mhm.
throttle your thyroid down. You're going to throttle your metabolism down. So within 20%, and you might lose, the 1 pound a week, but you're keeping that thyroid, that metabolism happy, preserving your muscle,
Interesting.
maybe so it's like a good long-term plan. And then 20% above, I guess. So you're yeah, she's
See,
saying 20.
that's something I would have been interested to know at the beginning of my journey to try to incorporate that, because my thing was focusing on, okay, I got to make sure that I'm in this 500 calorie deficit per day, right? And that's where I focused. But hearing you say that, I think that that would be a better plan long term. So I like that.
I mean, I think too, the leaning into the days and then the leaning back is also
Mhm.
good, because you're still feeding your metabolism. And if you consistently do the same thing, your body just goes, I'm on to you. I don't know what's going on. And it like
I got
changes
you.
because it wants to maintain. It doesn't want you to lose weight. Okay, let's see here. Hey, ladies. I think insurance wording for your friend is she failed Ozempic. That's the wording that was used when failing lap band, metformin. I don't know why I highlighted this. I'm sorry. Is that a thing?
No, it's okay. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's not like the awesomest terminology, right, that the medical community uses, but yes, she's
Oh,
correct, or this person is
that's
correct.
what they call it so that she can get
Right.
insurance coverage for the next one.
You got it. Yes.
But she did feel better and her number did significantly come down even though it didn't fully get where they were hoping. So I do think some people just need more hit at their body,
Yeah.
more assistance with the hormone communication. Oh, I just wanted to share this one because Neo Queen, we just want to send it out to you. We're so sorry that you had some devastation, and we're excited for you that this helped you and that you're using all your tools to cope in other ways. And in the chat, everybody was sending just lots and lots of love to her.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so sorry.
I had a friend
I
who
love you.
asked, they looked at me very, very sad, and they said, would that tool truly help with those hard times? And I had to think about it because I hadn't really had any hard times, but I think that it does a
I did.
lot.
I did. I so I I think I was like 50 pounds down, just really reaching the point where I was getting excited about, oh my goodness, this is actually working for me and starting to see the results. When I lost my job,
Mm.
and I am like the breadwinner of our household. And so there was that pressure. Then there was, oh my goodness, I'm going to lose my insurance. How am I going to get my med? It was rough. But me before Manjaro would have had a total meltdown. And so I will say that I do think that it helped me to get through that and really have the mental space to be able to say, okay, we're going to tackle this head on. Who do we know? Let's network. Let's get out there. Let's find a job, because the job market is just horrible, horrible, horrible. So, yeah,
I
I
did
think
end
that
up
helped.
having, by the time she asked me, I hadn't had anything, but then we moved, and my son was not diagnosed with autism, but the school said he 99% likely has it, but we don't diagnose people. And he was getting in trouble every single day. And I was moving. And at the time, my husband was working on the road. He does a lot of traveling for work. So I'm moving by myself with this child that's really high needs, and then a 3 year old, and then two big kids. And it was just a lot. And it was really hard on our marriage. And it was really hard on my body. And it was just so stressful.
Yeah.
And I think that I had more energy because of this. And also, there's something about this. We're going on a cruise in a couple of days, and I'm taking my big kids, and I was messaging their dad, and he was like, yeah, they're not going. And previously, that would have just triggered me to be like, on my phone. And I was just like, I'll let them know that you're not going to let them go on the family cruise. I just like, it was like, what can you do? Not my
Just take it in
circus.
stride, right?
As Dr. Tina says, not my circus. I mean, it really, things, I'll be upset about things for 5 minutes, and then it'll just kind of, I don't know, like it's all going to
Right.
resolve itself. It's going to be okay. Is it because I'm skinny? No, I'm just kidding. You posted that. Was it you that posted the reel? There's this lady that's like, everything's okay now because I'm skinny. I guess
No,
that's
it
a pretty
wasn't
big
me. But
TikTok thing, isn't it?
yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I follow all the skinny talk stuff that's going on right now. All of the Have you seen this?
no, tell.
Okay. Yeah, so there's this thing called skinny talk over on TikTok. And basically it's people who are thin, who have been thin their whole lives, and they talk about how to be thin. And some of it is actually productive and
Hilarious.
interesting advice, and some of it is just horrible diet culture, right? And so these people get just slammed, and then some of them are revered, right? And like it's really interesting to see all the drama that goes on with it. But yeah, I'm
You
trying
just
to
don't
figure out
get
how
it
I
unless you've struggled with your weight. So
right.
don't tell me what diet to do. Don't tell me what exercise to do. Like, if you gained 5 or 10 pounds and you were able to lose it through diet and exercise, it's a totally different thing than chronic weight gain.
Yes.
Totally, totally different thing. Um, okay, let's see here. Oh, oh, oh. Okay, you mentioned use an electrolyte that doesn't include citric acid because of inflammation. So the one I use also, I believe, is the only one that doesn't have maltodextrin. And maltodextrin is a powdered starch. And so they will, so like even so many things have maltodextrin in it. Like a lot of spices have maltodextrin in it. And for people who are really sensitive, we don't want to consume a ton of that. One of your favorite companies has maltodextrin as like a couple ingredients. um, but it's everywhere. It's everywhere. But anyway, so
Yeah.
I really love this unique company that said we're not going to put citric acid in it because I think it's derived from mold, and so it can affect some people. And then there's probably worse citric acids and good citric acids. It's no longer derived
Right.
from lemons and limes like we're hoping. It's derived from
Or
something else. So
exactly.
so I love this one. It's the company is called the main company is actually called Keto Chow, and they sell the most delicious protein powders in the whole wide world. And I love them because I don't do protein powders because of my gastric bypass, but you get to add your own fat, which is nice because I'm a anti-seed oil person. That's me. Get the tinfoil hat. I don't like the seed oil thing. So you can add butter, heavy cream, whatever your fat is. If you're like really into
Right.
canola oil, do it. Please don't do it.
It doesn't sound good.
So you get to add your own fat, but the flavors are phenomenal. But their electrolyte line is no maltodextrin, no citric acid, no fillers, no preservatives. And I don't think there's preservatives. But so Coco Loco and my group, I've been telling them about it. And every person who's been brave enough to order it has been like, you were not kidding. It's so good. Allie, did I get your address? I need to mail you some Coco Loco so you can try it. Because I am telling you, you're going to be blown away. I bet your headaches are going to go away. And I have a follower who's been messaging me to tell you that you actually do need electrolytes, and they tell me all of your symptoms of why.
Yeah.
Oh, what was the other one? Constipation.
Wait,
Do you have
like,
constipation?
yeah. Wait, like symptoms like my symptoms or just
Your
symptoms of
symptoms, yeah. They're
me?
like, you need to tell Allie that she needs some electrolytes, and that will help that. And there
Okay.
and we've heard your talks about why you do drink them like every couple of
Yeah,
days.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
they were like, she could use it for this symptom and this symptom. Like they care about you,
Yeah.
and they think you need
I
more
love
Coco
that.
Loco.
I hope that they send me that in a message. That's fantastic.
You'll have to message me your address or a PO box or whatever you feel comfortable with,
Yeah,
because it
yeah.
might show up at your house. And I'll mail you some Coco Loco because I bet you anything. Yes. Becky says it tastes like a yoo-hoo. Is that how you say it?
Oh, used to love YooHoo.
It literally does. It's so good, and it has 2 calories. So I
That's
don't have a
really
problem
good.
getting my water in, and neither does anybody in our group.
All right. I'm sold. I'm telling you, I will try anything once. So I'm sold.
I bet you're
I
gonna
will,
love
I
it.
will try it.
It will not go to the dogs. My baby steals it. My 3-year-old, and he calls it chocolate milk.
That's so cute.
I know. Okay. The doctor is going to do
Body
waste
roundness index. I'm so sorry. You
Did
just
you hear?
started talking. I just saw it. JM posted body roundness index. That's what I couldn't think of earlier. JM, you are the bomb. Thank you.
So
That was it.
Pamela is tall. She's taller than me, and she's only 133 pounds, and she's at the very top of the scale for the waist measurements. So I've had people book with me because they want to be told that it's okay when they only weigh 140 pounds because they are 5 feet tall or whatever. And they're
Yeah.
like, but I swear I need this, but I don't know. What do you think? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure if keto, carnivore, low carb, tracking your food, if you're tracking your food, you're at a deficit and you're exercising a few times a week and you're still struggling with your weight, to me, that's like something could use a little love.
Yes.
Okay. And we already did that one. Is it on Android? It is not. Did I miss any other questions?
No, no, I think you're on top of it. Oh, here we go. Kirsten, I think Kirsten? Yeah, not Kristen. I had to look at it. The print is very small. Kirsten. Hello from Orlando, Florida. Woo! I love Florida. Okay.
Me
What
too.
do you think of Mochi giving $79 credit to its members?
I
All
think
right.
that's great. I submitted mine on March 13th and it hasn't moved. And this is why I had told my group members, I said, I'm not saying we need to panic buy. Well, now I'm saying that. But before I was saying, I'm not saying we need to panic buy, but at a minimum, can you get an extra month on hand? Right now, if you didn't have an extra month on hand, you're out of medicine. I mean, I submitted mine 2 weeks ago. 20, no. 12. What even day is today? 15 days ago?
I don't even know what today. We're at the end of the month, so it's the 28th.
15 days ago, I submitted it and it hasn't moved.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they're doing that. They must be losing their butts because the pharmacies that they're working with are more expensive. They
Yeah.
didn't change their price and now they're giving a $79 credit back. And to me, this is, I don't know. I think that they want to stay in the fight and they want to give a good service. I just thought it was weird that at the same time, is it Empower was moving from a 503B to a 503A. And I feel like a couple of them were changing their formula to add vitamins or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
at the exact same time, Equito was shut down. That's so weird. That
Yeah.
happened at one time.
Yeah. It was a lot all at one time. So what do I think about them giving a credit? I think it's a good idea. Um,
I
I
was
think
kind of mad that I paid a subscription and I didn't end up getting my monthly medication.
so. I will give you guys a little bit of an exclusive tip here. So if you're here for the live, you'll hear this first. Um, so to your point about paying for subscription and then not getting service, they shut my account down. So not only did I pay with my money out of pocket for 6 months worth of medication and then 6 months worth of access to a provider, but they shut it down. No refund. This credit, I don't get the credit. So
So
it's
what you're saying is you broke up.
well, it wasn't just me. So it was not affiliate related. I didn't get fired or anything crazy like that.
It
But
was part of if people asked
if
for the
you
refund, that's what they did.
correct. Correct. If you asked for a refund, they shut you down and they shut your account down. So, but I plan to talk more about that in a video and explain everything. So, as far as the 79 credit goes, I think it's great. And I'm definitely happy for the people who got it and it helps them because I think it's the right thing to do. I think that if you have a business hiccup that affects others, then you should do everything in your power to try to make it right. And I think that's a good step in the right direction.
You know what I feel like right now? Well, first of all, I'm sure if you contacted them and you say, hey, what's going on? I did that because we didn't know if the product was safe. Now
Yes.
I see the testing. I understand it's safe. Could you please reinstate that? I'm sure that they would.
Oh,
But you're
absolutely.
but you're probably good. But you know how I feel right now is like we're in a marriage, me and Mochi. I am
Mhm.
also under contract with them. We're in a marriage and an event happened and we've had to work on it together. And we're coming out stronger than ever. Like I saw some things and not everybody's taking it the way I am, and that's okay. But I saw some things where I was like, I'm kind of impressed. Like to
Yeah.
just boom, we're going to switch all of you guys over here, to not change your prices, to give that refund, to provide the testing the way they did. Do I think they could communicate a little better and they should hire me for that? Yes.
It's funny you say that. I said that today in the downsized live they went live talking about the $79 credit for Mochi, and explaining it to people and talking about their views. And Christopher actually said, he was like, yeah, I told Dr. Myra she should really get somebody for PR. And I could not get in the comments fast enough. I was like, you should just send her an email and tell her she needs to hire me. And I put all the little goofy smiley faces behind it. I love just the absolute shenanery when I'm in somebody else's live. I live for it. I live for it. So as soon as he said that, I was like, they should just hire me for it. No, you said that. It made me think of that.
Yes, I don't actually want to be the crisis management person, but I do think they need one because I don't think they're doing anything scandalous. Because if they were, if they are like they're being watched like a hawk. So if they
Yeah.
were doing something illegal, shady, blah 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 blah, it would be all over the newspapers. It'd be discovered. It would be, so I think they just really need a little bit better PR. That's
Yes.
it.
And they should call me about that immediately.
For sure.
Neo
Did
Queen said, Allie after dark. I love that.
That could go so many directions. Okay, so
Yeah.
I work with a guy that helps me with my media, and he was like, you need to build these reels, and do you think you could get some props? So I'm Googling like big fat steak, or I'm Amazoning, I need a big fat steak. And what comes up? A man with these underwear that have a steak on them.
Okay.
Adrian After Dark. Anyway, what I would love is a big, if does anybody, if you could please comment if you know where I could find a ginormous, like almost life size blow up syringe that I could just take with me places and film it. Send me a link. I'll buy
Oh,
it.
that's
I
good.
would love a blow up syringe.
That sounds like something you would see in, like, you remember back in the day, like the Oriental Trading Company booklet
Yes.
that you would get, and you could order the crazy stuff and there'd be like 50 of them. I bet you there's a blow up syringe out there. There has to be one.
I need a blow up syringe or
And a
a
giant
blow up
steak.
steak. Like, okay, when I go cruising, I went cruising before GLP-1. And just so you know, like my husband does this thing with blackjack where he goes up and down and then they send us free cruises. So we are not rich. We're not spending $5,000 every month
Cool.
cruising. This is like free. So, except for the $200 that he's allowed to go up and down with. So when I didn't have a GLP-1, it was like the best time of my life and the worst time of my life because I'm such a food addict and there's food 24/7 that it just bothered me to not, I would be eating all the time. And I
Right.
would be crabby because the kids would want to go to the beach, but I was like, but we'll miss lunch. And
Right.
I would legitimately get like the cringes and mad because they wanted to do something instead of eating. And I would like sneak away and go get the free pizza and eat the toppings. And I was just constantly eating and I would gain like 15 pounds so it was like the best, it was a food addict's best dream and worst nightmare at the same time.
Right.
Being on a GLP-1 is the best thing ever. People ask, well, should I take it before vacation? Hell yes, you should. Hell yes. And you can have that freedom of the space. You can have space to look at the sky, to look at the water, to look at your family, to go do activities. You can have that space to just be free instead of enslaved to the buffet. Yeah. So
Yes.
I think it would be funny to literally walk around a cruise ship with a blow up syringe because I do walk around with my trizepatide and it is the best thing ever.
I love that. Yeah. I was thinking the steak, you could probably find like a pool float or something. There's got to be something with a steak. There has to be one. Like people barbecue, they have pools, there has to be like a big slab of meat. But
Big slab of meat. Look at Jam's comment.
yeah. What is it? Where is it?
I'd
Where
be
is
happy with that steak.
Nice.
Yeah, it
I
would be
love
funny to float in the pool on a big steak too. That would be
Yeah.
funny. This year I will be going to meetups all over the country. So it'd be cool to have some of those cool props. Yeah, we're going to Chicago, probably Orlando. There's something called Meat Stock. There's one in Tampa called Hack Your Health, and there's one in Montana. Yeah, I'll be over the country, guys. Come meet with me. Even Lady Alice, you can bring your tofu burgers or your slime burgers. What was it that you were eating? Algae slime?
Sea moss.
Sea moss slime?
I don't think
Was
it's
it?
called slime. I think it's just called sea moss.
Must have just been what I was picturing in my brain.
You're too funny. Winnie B said, I'm always amazed when my friends tell me that they take a break from their shot to go on vacation. I take mine. Yeah. So I actually have quite a few videos on this. I've done quite a few videos, vacation videos, where I talk about all the reasons why you don't want to do this unless you are someone who suffers from extreme side effects, in which case you should be talking to your doctor anyway, because nobody should be miserable on a GLP-1. So
Hmm. Yeah. No, I am tempted to take extra.
I love shot day. I love it.
I do too. I do too. Have you uh sometime we should talk about you know how you did the split dosing thing? Someone said what you're supposed to do or what you could do that's a little bit better is you start out in the beginning of the week with a heavier shot and then you follow it up a couple days with a lighter one and then a heavier one and a lighter one and you start getting them closer together and then eventually it's good.
Yeah, I've seen, so I did a video on trying split dosing. Spoiler alert, it did not go well. And then I got a lot of advice about how to start out the split dosing, because it is more challenging if you try to go split dosing and you're at the higher doses. I'm at 12.5. So, yeah, I got a lot of really interesting advice about how to do that. So I may try it again, but it's interesting to me to see what others are doing, because if you put it into the GLP-1 plotter, if you're doing a bigger dose and then a few days later doing a smaller dose and then a few days later doing a smaller dose, right? Then your levels are actually going higher, right? It kind of goes up and then kind of comes down and then you're stabilizing. So I'm trying to map that out and kind of wrap my head around it to see if that's something I want to do, because trying to drop down to lower and doing it, that was epic fail. I gave up what, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I gave up 4 days into it.
Yeah, that didn't make sense to me either. Like I would be maintaining a lower level. So
Right.
to me, I don't understand. Like to me,
Yeah.
I would actually increase my dose so I can maintain the level that makes me feel good, which would end up being an increase in dose. So
Right.
that never made sense to me. So what I've done is I started taking it every 5 days instead of the 7. But what I found, obviously, that's an increase in dose. So I did it 5 days and then 5 days. And then I was like, and I'd go like 8 days and then 5 days, 5 days, 8 days.
Hmm.
So this time I waited until day 7, I think. I'll have to look in my Shotzi app and actually went down in dose. So really what I should have done was go down in dose 5, 5, 5. And it's been much more, I mean, so much better for me uh, to do the 5s. And so there's very, like today was my hungry day and it was super, super manageable.
Right.
Where before it was like, is this even still working for me?
Right.
Um, yeah, people love shot date. Hey, I wanted to tell you guys, if you didn't see my reel, because I post a lot of stuff. If you are a cruiser, you can ask for, you don't have to use the mini freezer in your cruise room. You can ask for a medical grade cooler and they provide one and it has like I don't remember. I feel like it had a thermometer on top and it has a motor and it keeps it fan blowing so that everything inside there is the perfect temperature. So they gave me a sharps container. So I felt so taken care of because you look in that little mini fridge and mine was like warm and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's for drinks. You can't put that in there." And then they brought me the medical grade cooler for my peptides the whole time we were cruising.
That's fantastic. I did not know that.
I wish hotels had that. And I
Yeah,
wonder if
that would be
some
nice.
do because this
Okay.
has become so common.
I'm gonna have to research that, because that's definitely interesting. My bitter chickie, she said, I'm a Saturday shot chickie. One time I missed a dose when I had a minor surgery as per the anesthesiologist. Yep. Got to do what the doctor ordered. That's for sure.
Is this the idea that you're on this stuff forever? Do you eventually come off? It depends. If you're the person, I think, like the situations where you would come off would be situational weight gain. You gave birth, you hit menopause, you something, you something, you something. Or you're one of those dudes who was able to eat crap your whole life. And then you turned 40 and all of a sudden you started getting high blood pressure, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, and you gained a few pounds. I think that person, which is my husband, might be able to come off. I think people who didn't struggle with weight their whole life might be able to come off. People who might, and you should give your answer too, because yours is probably going to be more thorough. People who have chronic inflammation, autoimmune conditions, struggled with weight your whole life, probably not. Probably stay on. Unless I can figure out why I'm chronically inflamed, which we have narrowed it down to 3 things now. Go ahead.
Yeah. I would say, Janelle, I did a video. It's actually a couple of videos where I interviewed people who came off of various GLP-1s, and they talked about, what they did and were they able to maintain their weight loss. And it really is a person by person situation. And there are many people who even say that they got on the meds, they lost the weight, they feel better, and because they feel better, they're not interested in ever coming off of it. And I think that, it's definitely one of those things where not only is it trial and error based on the person and their conditions, but it's also how you feel. So for me, I lost 8 pounds of inflammation, and in the first month of being on a GLP-1, and it really improved my range of motion, right? My mental clarity. I have like some serious ADD. That's fun times in my head all the time. It's like a party up there. I invite you all to join. And there are all these other aspects to take into account. So for many people, it's hard to say, is this a lifelong thing? And you'll see people who just regurgitate that, right? Like they've just accepted it and they're like, oh, my doctor told me before I got on this, I'll be on it for life. But I think it's more nuanced than that. And it really just depends on the person. So it's something you'll have to decide for yourself. And people have asked me, do I plan to come off of it? And, I have said that I might try to, when I reach my goal weight, just to see, is my diabetes healed, right? Because people say you can't heal your diabetes. Is it something I can maintain on my own? But I got to tell you, all of the other perks that I feel, all of the energy, the mental clarity, the inflammation is gone, like the list just goes on and on and on and on. I may not want to get off of it, and that's okay too. So it just, Janelle, it's whatever makes you happy.
It'll be interesting to see. There's a theory that you can't maintain higher levels because of the receptor thingy. But there's some evidence that maybe you could you could stay on the lower doses long term. But we don't know.
Well, and I've seen people that are doing that have maxed out at 15 tirzepatide, lost all their weight, titrated down, did maintenance a couple of months, kind of in the middle doses, and now they're doing, some of the smaller doses in split dosing, some of the smaller doses once a month, which kind of blows my mind because it's, it's like out of your system, back in your system, out of your system, back in. But they like that it gets rid of the inflammation and that works for them and they're able to maintain. So I don't know. I think that's part of the challenge with these peptides is it's not a one size fits all.
100%. People keep asking me every day, what dose do I start on? What dose do you think I'm going to need? And I saw this great one. Who's the gal that does the maintenance minute?
Corey.
Corey, she recently posted a reel and it was this sadness because you were like, I'm only going to be on the lowest dose. And then you need to titrate up. And then the added sadness, and then eventually feeling like I'm a failure because I had to add dose, add dose. And I see that in my group so much. And because people will ask basically, it's like they need permission to go up. And it's like we don't get to pick how your body reacts to this.
Right.
Some
And the
people
thing,
do need more, especially if you're losing weight.
absolutely. And the one thing that I want to add to that, because that's an excellent point, is even how you start out may not be how you end. So for me, I was able to stay on 2.5 for 13 weeks, and then I was on 5 forever. I need to go count my boxes because I had somebody ask me in my live and I don't remember. But I stayed
Did
on
you
5
literally keep your
forever.
boxes? Is that like a thing?
Yes.
I was wondering why she had all those boxes.
Okay. I have kept all of my boxes and all of my pens because I plan on doing a thing at the end.
Just kind of like when people get pregnant.
Yeah, like with the big pile of pens, and then there's going to be me, and I'm going to be skinny. But yeah, but yes, I have all my boxes and I have them date labeled so I can see kind of how I have a spreadsheet too, but that's not as fun to look at. So, anyway, I need to count my boxes because where was I going with this? So how I started out, I was able to stay at these lower doses for these big chunks of time. But now, if you were to look at my stats from 7.5 to 12.5, I was just like, I mean, it was like a grind. I'm just going up in dose. And technically speaking, I'm probably at some point going to have to go up to 15, just because, the weight loss has stalled out and I'm doing all the things. But I'm not in a rush to do it now. But I can tell you that how you start is not necessarily how you finish. So, crazy cat lady in LA. I'm sorry. Has my ADD showing?
Yeah, I think this has been amazing for the autoimmune. Absolutely amazing. Um, I'm very excited for hopefully our kids because there's a correlation between parents who struggle with autoimmune and kids who struggle with autism. There is a correlation. He is wearing underwear, just so people know. The last live I did a couple days ago, the babysitter, she got a new job, so she wasn't here, and I was like, I can totally handle it. He stripped naked and ran around in the back of my live.
Hilarious.
So my
Hilarious.
co-hosts went and edited out, so don't even go look for it. It's not there. Not that anybody would, but this guy's got underwear on. This is my 6-year-old Porter. He got a
Hey,
haircut
buddy.
today. You want to say hi to the internet?
Hi.
Oh, they're up here. They're up here.
Hi.
He wants to be a YouTuber just like mom. He thinks I'm rich.
Yeah, that's because your mom's so cool.
Haven't broke it to him that I only make $40 a month.
Well, that's okay. It's okay to dream big.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Anyway, okay. I have to put. Oh, everybody says hi. And save those pens. I kind of wish I would have saved my little vials. I didn't know that was a thing. Could have had like a little basket of my vials.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, guys, this has been so great. If you guys like this, please feel free to comment down below. I love this, Allie. I love it. I hope you'll do it with me again. We don't have anything on the calendar, but I think we should put it up on the calendar and do some more of this.
Yeah.
I think it's great just to engage with the community and get to chit chat. Because we
Yeah,
chit
I
chat
love it.
we chit chat anyway. We're sending each other voice messages, and then at the end, I accidentally, like half the time, I say, "Okay, bye, love you," and then I'm like, "Oh, she's gonna think I'm a weirdo." So then I try
Okay,
to take it back, but then I'm like, no, I actually do kind of love her.
It was really funny the first time that that ever happened because you immediately had voice messages after it explaining yourself, and I hadn't listened to them yet, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, she is so sweet. That just made my day." She was just like, "Okay, well, I'll talk to you later. Love you. Bye." Right? And I was just like, "Oh my gosh, that was adorable." And then you were like, "Wait, wait, wait. I didn't mean to say that. I'm sorry." And so now whenever you do it, I'm like, right back at you.
This
And
is
so
so
I'm like,
funny
okay, I love
because
you. Bye.
my husband and I feel like we took it pretty slow for these days. And one time he kissed me and it was just so great that I was like, I love you. And then I was like, your lips. Like I tried to take it back by
Good.
saying I love your
Put the
lips.
words
Like
back.
it had
Put
already
them
come
back.
out my mouth. And so that's how I felt with
That's adorable.
I love your podcast. You know?
So great.
All right, awesome. Well, I hope you guys all have a great weekend. Please like, subscribe, and share to both of our channels. We would so greatly appreciate it. And please share this far and wide. We want to break down the stigma, answer questions, and just make this awesome for all of us. So, all right. Well, good night, everyone. We need an outtake of like it's a picture of us that are like and
Yeah.
it has music or something. I always listen to
Yes.
Dave's outtake because I like the music and it's like, okay, it's over. And
Yes. And then he waves to everybody. Yeah. We'll
I'm
have to come
listening to the
up with
whole
something.
thing. We need an outtake.
Thank you
All
guys so
right.
much for being here. You're all fantastic.
Thank you
Love
guys. Good
you.
night.